play-by-play commentator Ed Podolak retires. You notice the same food insecurity. I guarantee most of you didn't know that another Hawkeye athlete actually won a national championship this year. More fraternities are able to recruit new students year-round. From outside the IMU, this is Sam Heyn, DITV. Fraternity and sorority life, or FSL, provides college students with opportunities to join social organizations that create bonds over shared values and campus activities. Each year, fraternities offer male students a chance to lead within the group and to build connections for life after college. Rush, occurring twice a year, allows for students to explore fraternity options. However, Spring Rush typically sees lower turnout and enthusiasm compared to the fall.
I think for Spring Rush, I think a lot of people kind of realize sometimes people can get hesitant about like fraternity life, and then when they see all their friends do it, they're like, hey, this is pretty cool, and they like want to be a part of that.
According to Mackenzie Pendry, Assistant Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life at Iowa, the last two spring semesters saw 109 and 143 students rushing. However, this spring, 165 students signed up and 131 found a new fraternity of their own.
Spring is more about word of mouth. More about like, I know a guy and that's why I didn't go through fall, but now I'm interested. So I think that the chapters are getting better at hyping up their chapters and like getting to know people. And I think that IFC is doing a good job too.
Pendry says the IFC's PR team has spent a long time in trying to counter low numbers and boost spring recruitment. And with better word-of-mouth advertising and better social media marketing, more fraternities are able to recruit new students year-round. From outside the IMU, this is Sam Heyn, DITV. Iowa City residents, you just got off of work and the stomach starts rumbling. You're hungry, but you don't want to waste the time or energy in prepping for a meal. So what do? You head to a restaurant in downtown Iowa City. But as you start making your way around and looking at all the different options, you notice the same food insecurity. It's expensive, it doesn't fit around your workday, or how West Lawn dietitian Abby Amon describes it, just simply a lack of healthy food.
Even just getting in some of those like sandwich and salad shops where you could just kind of choose a bunch of different things, kind of like the Heirloom Salad Company at Java House, something kind of like that where there would be a lot of different opportunities to choose more fresh options.
She says Panera Bread at the Old Capitol Mall was a great example of this, but the business has closed since the pandemic. This year, students have started making their way to the food pantry at the IMU for alternative options. Food Pantry's basic needs manager Seth Dickinson says a big part in the spike in students was moving the pantry to the ground floor.
And we've seen a huge spike in number of people and new visitors this year, especially in terms of undergraduate students.
With big efforts from the IMU Food Pantry, we can support students that are facing food insecurity every day. However, this can't be permanent. Iowa City is in need of change, and more diverse restaurants can spark this change. From downtown Iowa City, this is Sam Heyn, DITV. "64 teams, 63 games, and one winner to take it all." Whether you take part in ESPN's Bracket Challenge or do competitions with family or friends, the excitement from the March Madness tournament can offer memories like no other. With the Hawkeyes taking the 1st seed in the women's tournament this year, students here at Iowa have felt more unified this month.
I would see just like a bunch of group of people just really into it, and I just eventually caught on to it.
I think it's like very entertaining, and it brings college campuses together if their team's in the tournament.
On the other hand, academics takes a huge hit because of the exciting sports atmosphere.
The only problem is Thursday and Friday games. Sometimes I'll be watching the games in class maybe. Sometimes I'll not even go to class just to watch the games.
Here at the Adler Journalism Building, college athletics professor Wayne Drays uses March Madness to his advantage in the classroom.
These little factoids that I hope they can take back to their friends and their roommates and their family and entertain them. Like, you want to know something? Like, you think you got a perfect bracket, you get a 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance. So hopefully the content is such that they want to come out and engage and learn more about what's going on in the tournament despite games being on.
The March Madness will continue to have its influence on bonds and the excitement that it can create. However, the tournament poses as a distraction to the education that many desire here at Iowa. Balancing the two sides will be the ultimate test for students in this electric month of March. This is Sam Heyn, DITV.
Coming up, a push in politics. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaigns for a spot on Iowa's ballot.
It's college fame to the pros. With the WNBA draft this past weekend, where did our favorite college stars end up at? Caitlin Clark and more in just a little bit.
Opposites attract. Coming out of a fiery weekend into a watery week. I'll tell you more in weather.
All that and more is coming up.
You're watching DITV News. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. claims that he has the qualifications to appear on the Iowa presidential ballot this November. Kennedy is using a clause in Iowa law that allows independent candidates like himself to avoid the standard 3,500 signatures needed to be on an Iowa ballot. To do so, he must host a convention that receives 500 signatures from electors in at least 25 different counties. The Kennedy campaign says they received 686 signatures from over 35 counties. RFK thanked his supporters at the rally on April 13th, saying, quote, "Thank you for getting us on the ballot here in Iowa," end quote. The WNBA draft was this weekend, and we finally get to see how pro women's basketball will pan out with the high celebrity status of this year's draft class. The Indiana Fever's first overall pick obviously went to Iowa's Caitlin Clark. It is quite a fortunate time for the Fever. They now have the first college player ever to finish their career with 3,000 points, 1,000 assists, and 800 rebounds. For the second overall pick, the Los Angeles Sparks went with the 2024's Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, Cameron Brink of Stanford. Then it was South Carolina's Camila Cardoso, the starting center of this year's South Carolina championship team, going third overall to the Chicago Sky. The big question ahead is if these stars will continue to spark the high ratings they saw in college and potentially transform the WNBA.
The FBI opened an investigation into the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse Monday. The boat collided with a support pillar after losing propulsion. 6 people were killed in the incident. The crash happened months after propulsion and auxiliary issues with the boat were reported. The repairs were made and the vessel passed inspection in September before the crash. The current investigation looks into whether the crew left the port knowing that the vessel had damages. It also looks into the events leading up to the crashing and loss of propulsion power. President Biden and Maryland Governor Wes Moore say they plan to hold any liable parties accountable.